Mindset is everything. In order to improve on something, we need to get clear on what our definition is. So for mindset, let's use it in this context. It's our mental attitude that will determine how we interpret and respond to situations. Now that we've clarified that, we have laid the foundation for which we can build upon. I can't emphasize enough how important that is. So many people talk about wanting to improve their mindset, and they haven't really defined what that looks like. So then when you go into subcategories or frameworks, which we're going to go through in this conversation, they don't really know what's important, where they want to start, or how they can utilize that to improve the outcome that they're looking for. So that's why it's really important to establish that foundation. Now, over the next couple of tips that I'm going to share with you throughout this episode, I want to keep it as simple as possible because I view mindset as something simple. If we overcomplicate it, and it can be very complex, we're less likely to take action, right? When you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't know where to start. So we want to give you some order so you can, simply and effectively build a stronger mindset or build a better mindset to become the man that you want to be and achieve the outcomes that you want from your life. So your mindset can be broken down into two categories. And Carol Dweck in her book, Mindset, absolutely nailed this. So if you have not read Mindset by Carol Dweck, I would highly encourage you to, grab that on Audible or Spotify, or even grab her hardcover of the book as well. It's a great book. But she breaks it down into fixed and growth mindset. So the fixed, for the example, is a fixed mindset is how much you believe that your basic qualities are fixed or permanent. And a growth mindset is how much you believe your basic qualities like intelligence and talent can be grown upon and can be changed. Now, for me personally, I had success at a young age in sport, which I was very, stoked about, and I continued to get coaching and excel in those levels. But in the classroom or with my intelligence, so to speak, I really struggled. And for a long time, I had a fixed mindset around that. I accepted that who I was and the level at which I understood maths or English or learning languages or business, for example, couldn't be changed. That was just who I was. And that really caused some challenges in my late teens, early 20s, because I was, a young teenage boy, and I don't want to say boys will be boys, but how I was carrying on was very normal, but I didn't enjoy the way that I was acting. And it got to a point where I was really unimpressed by how I was making people feel, how I was making myself feel, and the outcomes that I wanted from my life. And you can hear more about this on older episodes. But the challenge with that was I had drawn the line in the sand and said, this is all you are. This is the same. You will continue to do this for the rest of your life. And when you're in a position where you're not happy, you're rock bottom, your life is not very impressive or exciting for that matter, to be drawing that line in the sand sets you up for a bloody long time of an uneventful and an unexciting life. Like it is really, I found it really challenging to accept that this is how I was going to live and this was my life. And I was very fortunate that I was given a book by a mate, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it was someone that I respected, but he gave me this book and just said, mate, just read it. And because I respected him, I decided I would read it. And I'd never read a book before outside of something we'd do in English, which I didn't really read, or, motocross magazines, because that was what I was interested in. And as I completed the book, it inspired something within me. It challenged a few beliefs that I had around myself, and it really made me hungry to go, okay, that challenged me in certain areas, and it made me look at myself and what I can achieve in a different way. Maybe there is more of that I can seek out. And I became hungry to continue learning. So I sought out more resources. I went to personal development events. I started challenging who I was, investing in coaching, hanging around different people, and my mindset continued to grow and develop. And then I was introduced to this concept of fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And I started recognizing, hey, I do now have a growth mindset. Maybe not in everything just at the moment, but I do believe that I can get myself into a position to learn skills or be resourceful to get the things that I need to improve not only myself, but the results that I'm having in my life. It was a pretty cool position to be in, right? I had recognized that when I was in this fixed frame, I would have thoughts like, I'm a loser. I can't start a business because I've never studied that. No one will ever like me. I'm a terrible communicator. I'll never be able to tell people how I feel. And those fixed beliefs held me back. When I recognized this growth mindset and I recognized the self-talk and the beliefs that I had could be challenged and could be changed, I started going, okay, if the fixed mindset version of myself or the self-talk that I have says I can't grow a business because I've never studied it before, what would the opposite of that be? What would the growth mindset approach be to that? It would be, I may not know what I need to know, but I am confident that I can find the answers. And it completely shifts how I showed up, which meant it completely shifted and changed how I acted. So I think a really important part to touch on is that there is a couple of steps to change here. And I know there's a whole different process, but this for me was just really simple. And it came in 4 steps. Now, the simple understanding of change for me was this: be aware that you can change. You know, if you aren't aware that you can change, like I wasn't for a long time, I just drawn the line in the sand and accepted this is it, this is life, that sucks. But the moment I became aware, I started asking different questions and moving towards a better outcome, which moves me to point 2, which is I had the desire to change. I wasn't happy in my life. I didn't want to sit in rock bottom. I didn't want to be broke. I didn't want to be in toxic relationships. I didn't want to hate myself. So the desire to change was pretty bloody high. That led me to the belief that, yeah, I can change, because as I mentioned a moment ago, I'd seen people growing and changing, but for the early parts, I didn't believe I could. But then I started reading books and I started noticing these changes within myself. So the belief was there. It just made me recognize that in order to change my actions, I needed to change my thoughts. And we'll go into beliefs in a moment, but just bear with me. And the final one was take action on that. So my biggest belief here is that in order to really change a belief, you need evidence, which means you need to do things that will back up what you're trying to achieve or what you were trying to believe. So when we look at confidence, for example, and let's use confidence in the form of, I'll give you an example and you can fill in the blanks. But think about something that you would enjoy being more confident at. It could be walking into the gym. It could be launching a business. Hell, it could even be starting a YouTube channel or podcast, right? You want to be more confident. There is an underlying tone of fear there, right? Fear of judgment, fear of failure, maybe even fear of success that is holding a lot of people back. But for me, the idea of confidence comes through more exposure to the thing that you're not feeling confident in. Repetition builds confidence. So if we understand that repetition builds confidence, we then need to start getting the reps in. So taking action on the things that you feel will increase your belief, which is generally going to move you closer to the outcome that you want. The great thing about this is when you understand that you can build all of these things and you're in a growth mindset, anything becomes possible. Look, some skill sets will come more naturally to me than others. And it doesn't mean they're not possible for me to learn. It just means I maybe need to persevere a little bit more. I may need more support, coaching, mentorship in order to achieve that. But when I do develop a skill that could become challenging, for example, learning French or learning the guitar, I need to ask myself, why is it important for me to learn this? Is there going to be benefit, or is it just that I love the idea of it? And look, a lot of us love the idea of a lot of things. But if there is no real reason for me to develop it that I'm committed to, it's going to have life-altering change present life-altering change for me, then it may not actually be something that I'm truly committed to. It may just be the fact that I love the idea, but I don't love the idea of doing committing to the process, which means I can then accept that and move on. And, having had that growth mindset and understanding that it was a key ingredient and that not everything that I love the idea of is going to be things that I'm committed to the process of, it has taught me a lot of stuff. Because over the years of trying different things, reading books, attending events, hosting my own podcast, coaching hundreds of men, I've improved my resilience. I have learned from my failures. I have shifted, challenged, and changed my beliefs. I now have a clear set of values that I allow to guide me to make better decisions. And I am genuinely creating my dream life. And I do that by setting goals and gaining feedback from life. And it's one thing that we talk about in our Strongman and Value Academy with our game planning is really helping you cast a vision and grow into the man that you want to become and be surrounded by men who are like-minded, that can challenge you, that can change you, and that can provide you with perspective to become your best self, right? It's almost like a little cheat code so you can avoid hitting rock bottom to get the things that you want, right? It's pretty cool. And I don't want you to fall into the trap because you're listening to podcasts like this to believe that you're changing. You may be consuming different information, which is a great starting point. But if you're not doing anything with it, you're holding yourself back. You're collecting all this potential power is how I see knowledge. And unless you're implementing it into your life, you're missing so much of the learning. Because for me personally, let's say, for example, you and I have the same goal, which at the moment is to continue building towards $1 million a year business. But it could be also working towards a sub 40-minute 10-kilometer, which is another goal that I've just achieved. Well, let's just say that, we have that in common. The roadmap for us to get there is going to be very different. I could present you with a couple of fundamental or foundational steps within that process, which is what I do with a lot of my coaching. But what I encourage you and empower you to do is then go, okay, if this is a 5-step framework, and it could be setting the goal, building the plan, finding the accountability, doing the thing, getting feedback, and going again. That's going to look very different for you based on the experiences that you have, the skill sets, the support around you, the network, etc. Which means when you're in control of those foundations, you can then plug and play to really fast track your own success, which is a very powerful place to come from. Because I know when I first started in network marketing a number of years ago, an original goal, hey, I want to make $1 million. The person next to me, I want to make $1 million too. Awesome. We had the same goal. We moved at different speeds. And I started looking around at that point and going, why is this the case? We both are doing the same things. We're both, making cold calls. We're following the scripts. We're posting on social media. We're learning marketing. But because of our upbringing to that point, we did have different understandings and levels of that, which means just because we did the same thing doesn't determine or guarantee the same outcome. And people with a fixed mindset get very frustrated with that because they are so focused on an outcome. It's like, man, if I do this thing, I should get this. You and I both know that that is complete BS. Nothing is guaranteed. Just because you do X, Y, and Z does not guarantee you that. It puts you in a much better position. But as someone who takes responsibility, which for me means you are putting yourself in a position to have a growth mindset because you're accepting that, hey, I'm responsible for all of this. You will then use feedback from the things that you're doing to tweak it, pivot, and become more efficient and effective to get the outcome. I still haven't hit my $1 million a year business. And rather than going, I'll never do it, it's not possible anymore, like I would have maybe 10 years ago, I've gone, okay, that's fine, but what do I need to do and who do I need to become to achieve that milestone? And once again, it's like, is it still really important to me? Because many people, a great starting point is, hey, let's work towards $1 million a year goal. And it's who you become in the process. And that's one of the great things about the growth mindset is you're really focused on who you're becoming in that process, not so much the outcome. The outcomes are like the cherry on top. One thing that I've made available, you can head over to my website, themanthatcanproject.com, and you'll see our 7-day Strongman of Value challenge. And we go through this in detail and give you a worksheet so you can actually start implementing and understanding this for yourself. I wanted to make this program because I want people to understand how I coach and have a great level of awareness around some key pillars that I believe are important before they do join the academy, so that when you are invited to the academy, it's like, man, I understand my mindset. I understand time management and various other things. So if you want to check that out, you can head over to the website. It's $27, a week's worth of coffees, and it's got some great stuff there that you can implement. When I mentioned earlier, I was talking about beliefs, right? Our beliefs within a fixed mindset, we don't believe we can change them. That's who we are. That is the most absolute thing around. And that can be good in some instances. But I do believe you need to be open-minded to change things, because if you want different results to what you already have, you're going to need to create a new identity. So meaning the version of you right now is not going to be the version you'll be when you achieve X outcome. And so if you accept a limiting belief, then it will become your truth. And you need to decide whether you can live with that truth or not. And if you can't, that's when we need to go through this process of being aware of the belief that you want to change, how you can challenge it, and what you would like to actually change it to. Most people go, yeah, I want to change that belief. And it's like, okay, well, why first and foremost? And what would that look, what would you change that to? Meaning, I don't believe I'm good enough. I don't believe I can have a loving relationship. I don't believe I can earn $1 million. Okay. And what would you now change that to? I'm $1 million a year income earner. I have the most loving, caring relationships in my life. I am good enough. It's a small shift, but what happens when you start thinking about this and when you start telling yourself this, your, mind or your subconscious starts then looking for validation to support that. Oh, that's another thing I've done well. Pat on the back. Oh, that interaction with my wife was amazing. Pat on the back. I do have loving relationships. Oh, my buddy called me up. Someone does genuinely care about me. But if you're focused on the limiting beliefs, you're going to be looking out for things to support the limiting beliefs. And the real question then comes back to, which one do you want to be true? You're in control of that. I'm a big believer, we may not be able to control our first thought, but you surely can control your second thought. Now, I've covered a lot today. And once again, if you would like some worksheets and some a more structured approach to this to go through, I'd highly recommend heading over to the website and just invest in the $27. It's a week's worth of coffees to get the 7-day Strong Men of Value Challenge, where there will be worksheets, a lot more, some stuff that you can follow through with some points, but you can start implementing this stuff and unpacking your own mind to see your strengths, weaknesses, what you can do to better achieve and create the identity of yourself that you want to become. It's going to be completely powerful. And the cool thing about this is it's $27 now. I'm going to always be updating this, because this is exactly what or the framework that I went through, and I'm really unpacking my mind at the moment to make it a more beneficial space for people like you to get access and start making some change. Thank you so much for listening in, and remember, take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss these weekly episodes. I do a coaching episode every Thursday and a guest episode every Monday, and I look forward to hearing from you more. As always, do something today to be better for tomorrow. My name is Lachlan Stuart. Thank you guys for being here.